Hey everybody, thanks for checking out statesman.com. It's Tuesday. It's Longhorn Confidential time. I'd rather talk about turkey and Thanksgiving, but we have a little football to talk about first. Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman, Cedric Golden, Kirk Bohls, said we're only a couple days removed from a trip to lovely Lawrence, Kansas, where we saw Texas record a 55 to 14 win over the Jayhawks. There isn't much to talk about game wise, kind of went as we expected, but there's one guy to talk about. Mr. Bijan Robinson, 25 carries, 243 yards, four touchdowns at times. It looked like it was a video game. It looked like it was a highlight reel. You were in the press box. We were oohing and eyeing along with everyone else that covered Texas, that covered Kansas. I mean, that guy was just a highlight film on Saturday. Overall thoughts on what you saw from Mr. Robinson on Saturday?
First of all, I thought it'd be a little closer than that. Uh, I don't know how many times me and you looked at each other and said, "Stupid. This is stupid. He's an idiot. This is ridiculous. You're not supposed to be able to do what he did." I mean, if he's not the best running back in the country, then who is? Who is? I have no idea. To have those kind of feet, to have that kind of ability. He reminds me of Dalvin Cook for the Minnesota Vikings, about the same size. Uh, just just a big dude who can run. And after about two quarters of it, Kansas wanted no they wanted no parts of him. And I know we talked to his teammates, and they were like, "Man, we see it all the time in practice." And even Quinn Ewers was like, "Man, I had the best seat in the house, and I'm still blown away by it." All I'll say, and I know senior day's coming up, and he's not a senior, but I'll say what I said to him 2 weeks ago. Gonna miss him. Great kid off the field, great player on the field. Just a pleasure to have covered him for 3 seasons.
Yeah, I think our friends at Inside Texas had probably the best photo of the day. Michaela Compton obviously shot a lot of great art for us, but there was one photo they had where Bijan's running in the end zone, and you could see Quinn in the background going, "This is completely gobsmacked." And I think that may have been the photo of the weekend for the Texas beat. Kirk, from your viewpoint at home, I know you were covering the volleyball match there, senior night against Baylor later in the night. But from what you saw, what did you see from the couch?
More of the same. I mean, even Sark said we kind of take for granted, how good he is and how special a player is. And, we were talking to him yesterday and I asked him, you have adjusted your running style? And he went, no, not really. He said, the only thing is I'm running over more people. He said he put on a little bit more weight. He was like 210 or so last year, and he's up to about 220. And he's kind of done his research. He said, I think that's kind of the ideal weight. Saquon Barkley's like 225. Alvin Kamara's kind of in that range. And, Derrick Henry's an outlier. He probably weighs 280. But we've
No, he
seen
doesn't. Stop it.
it maybe 250.
No, not maybe. He is 250.
Yeah. But, the thing is about he's got so many weapons. He's got the stiff arm. He's got the spin move like nobody else. And he makes you miss and he keeps going and you think the play's over. And, who was it? Was it Jordan Whittington telling us yesterday? He said, how many times I'm blocking on the right, he's running on the left, and I'm kind of running over and you think the play's dead. Oh, he squirts out and gets more yardage. So he's just a special running back. And he's Texas Longhorn royalty at a position that where they know and appreciate royalty. He's that good.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Currently, Bijan is tied for fifth on the all-time rushing chart with 3,321 yards. Pretty sure he's going to pass Chris Gilbert on his first carry on Friday. But the question is Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles has 3,328 yards. So I guess that's not really a question. I thought there was a lot more distance there. But when you
Not
start thinking of the great running backs in Texas history, the Rickies, the Cedrics, the Earls. Obviously, Ricky and Earl won Heisman. Cedric had a great 4 year career. Where does Bijan kind of stack up? Does he deserve to be above Jamal? Is it more of a conversation with the Roosevelt Leagues? Obviously, Deontay Foreman had that great one season. Does he need to win the Doak Walker Award in order to be in that conversation? Where does Bijan kind of stack up in this great list of Texas running backs?
I'm going to put him fourth. I think that Rosie Leaks is a superstar with sociological impact here at Texas. He was the first black star at Texas, so you can't take that away from Rosie. Chris Gilbert was great in his day, but I got to go Earl. I got to go Ricky. Sid Benson, the only running back in school history for 1,000-yard seasons. That is never going to be topped. Someone might tie it. But you know what? In this day and age, if you're great, you're not staying for 4 years. Um, so I put Sid third, and then I go Bijan, Jamal fourth and fifth, and then Mr. Gilbert. That's my list.
For me, he may be third. He's right there. To me, Earl was the man among boys. Earl was one of those rare talents that probably could have gone directly from high school to the NFL and done quite well. And Ricky was obviously special. One thing I just point out is that Ricky and Earl and Cedric were all here 4 years. And two of them won the Heisman Trophy in their last years, where this is third year for Bijan Robinson. So he would put up numbers close that might threaten, Ricky's 6,000 plus yards if he stayed around. And he's got such good hands. He took umbrage at Sark saying Jatavian Sanders may have the best hands on the team, and said, I think I have the best hands. And we all remember that one-handed catch. Was that West Virginia, Iowa State? Which game was that? Remember?
Iowa State, and
Yeah, the one-handed catch for a
for a
loss.
loss.
Yeah, it was superhuman, a phenomenal catch. So, to me, I'm writing about it this week, and I'm kind of wrestling with that. He's definitely top five, and I think he's more versatile than Jamal Charles was. And Jamal was such a home run hitter. He had so much speed. We used to write about him like he's always trying to get to the outside. And Bijan, he's an inside runner. He's an outside runner. He's a pass receiver. He picks up pass rushes on blitzes and stuff. Like, he is a complete running back. So, I would probably, lean toward making the argument he deserves to be top three, if not tied for third with Cedric Benson and maybe Jamal Charles.
Just to clean up my mess from earlier, Bijan and Chris both have 3,231 yards. Jamal Charles is 3,328 yards. So Bijan needs 1 yard to break that tie with Chris Gilbert, 98 to pass Jamal into fourth place. Earl has almost 4,500 yards, so he's not going to get to third
Let's just
place.
keep that part moving. Yeah,
Unless,
and
unless he
Chris
comes back for another year, which we don't think he's playing it, keeping it close to the best, but we think he's gone. As Kirk alluded to, Kirk got some one-on-one time with Bijan yesterday at the media availability, so he'll be writing about that for Friday's newspaper. So be sure to check out that on statesman.com or pick up a print copy wherever you pick up print copies these days. But let's talk about Friday. Let's talk about the Baylor game. There's a lot on the line. Even though this may not have the hype as some past Texas Baylor games, there is some stuff on the line. Both teams are going bowl. Will be going to a bowl this season. Baylor is 6-5 on the season, 4-4 in Big 12 play. Texas 7-4, 5-3 in Big 12 play. 11 o'clock on ESPN. Ironically, Robert Griffin will be on the call, part of the ESPN broadcast team. So I'm sure they'll have some highlights to show of him versus Texas from back in the day. But overall, Seth, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this game, and what's on the line on Friday?
Well, they still harbor hopes of winning a Big 12 title. And if they beat Baylor and Kansas beats K-State, we're going to all be at Jerry World next week. But odds are not very good. They can beat Baylor, but the odds of Kansas going in that Little Apple and winning probably aren't very good. Baylor's physical, and physical teams can give Texas problems. And Shapen, not a great quarterback. He's up and down. He has big play potential, but he's hurt them in their losses. They're coming off a tough last-second loss to TCU. Baylor rarely gets blown out. I think Texas should keep it simple with Bijan, just like they did this past week, and not worry about hitting home runs, because that's the formula to win. With that said, Dave Aranda always has something up his sleeve. The Baylor coach is a defensive coordinator by trade. And I do not expect this to be a blowout. I think that Baylor's going to come in here believing it could beat Texas. I think this is a last two possession type game.
Yeah, it could be a lot. Richard Reese, the freshman running back for Baylor, versus Bijan and Roshan in likely their final games at DKR. I mean, they gashed TCU 232 yards rushing. And I was watching that game, and it was just they controlled the tempo of that game and should have won. But Blake
Hey,
Shapen,
Doug, did you see the look on Bijan's face?
yeah, yeah, he
He
was.
said, "Oh, they ran for 232." He said, "What? I didn't know."
Oh,
He
yeah.
was almost angry. He was almost angry because he got
Yeah, he
20.
was taken aback. He was. And Reese and Squirrel Williams, they're a good tandem, same as Texas. So, I think both teams will like to lean on the running game. Now, Blake Shapen, like he's got 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Quinn's got 14 and 6 interceptions. There's not that much difference between them. And Blake Shapen left a lot of points on the field last week. He threw an interception in the end zone right before half, and then he, didn't lead Baldwin on a wide open throw from about the 40 yard. It would have been an easy walk-in touchdown. There's 10 points right there. So, and it's interesting, guys. 6-5 Baylor a year after what did they win 12? Win the
Mhm.
Big 12, win the Sugar Bowl. So, just as much as it's turned for Baylor. Texas, I hate to say it, but it looks like they've kind of turned the corner. They played great against Kansas. They played great defensively against TCU. They had a great first half, Danny, and you and I were at K-State and just kind of held on. But, they've won, what do they won? Like 5 out of 7 games. So, and now they're in the poll again. So I hate to say it, but I'm kind of back on the believe bandwagon. How about you guys? Sorry.
Well, we'll see. Every single time they get in the
Oh,
poll, they kind of get kicked out because of a bad loss. I think this game's gonna be decided in the first quarter. I really want to see
First,
how this Texas team comes out, knowing that hey, they could be playing in San Antonio, they could be playing in New Orleans, just depending on what happens this weekend as far as their bowl projections are concerned. And then that was a devastating loss last week for Baylor. Like that is one of those gut punch,
mm-hmm.
gut wrenching losses, and I'm curious to see how the Bears come out and see if they're just completely heartbroken and hey, let's just get to this offseason, get to the postseason, and move on, or if they just come out angry and furious about how last week went. So I think we're going to know a lot in the first quarter, and Texas is a team that a lot of stuff happens in the second half, but I think we're going to know pretty early how this game is going to go. Said you kind of laid out the scenarios. Texas needs to win. It also needs Kansas State to lose to Kansas in order to make the Big 12 championship game. Kansas has lost 13 straight in this series. So on paper, that's not a good number if you're a Longhorn fan, but this Kansas team is a little bit better than Kansas teams and than Kansas teams of years past. They do have some good wins. I think they would love to go into Manhattan and spoil this season for their biggest rival. But do you think this is going to happen? Do you think everything Texas needs to happen is going to happen this weekend, or are we going to be preparing for a bowl game starting next week? Kirk, we'll start with you.
I give Kansas maybe a 1% chance, maybe two, if I'm being optimistic. I just think Kansas State's just got too much to play for, and it's hard to manufacture, that enthusiasm and that full out intensity that I think Kansas State and Texas will both have in their games this year. I mean, that Kansas defense is pretty lacking, and the fact that they get them in Manhattan, have that crowd behind them, Saturday night game with so much on the line for them. I give Kansas next to no chance to pull the upset.
I agree. I think Deuce is going to get loose. Kansas hasn't been in a Big 12 title game in a minute. And so, in Kansas State. And so this is their chance. And they're at home. They're tough at the house. The the Jayhawks don't really stand up to them, even though it's good to see Jalen Daniels back. So I'm thinking it's going to be like it's a 21-point win for K State. And Daniel, we're probably where we're probably going to be in about a month from now. You know where we're going to be. The good thing is you don't have to. You can bring Chuck with you if you want, and and maybe you can visit the Alamo. How about that?
I'm not gonna
In a good year.
I'm not going to subject my son to the Alamo Bowl. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think Texas does take care of business on Friday, but I think Kansas State's winning this conference title, so they can't do that if they lose on Saturday. So
You
I
think
think
Kansas State gonna beat TCU?
I think Kansas State should have beat TCU a couple of weeks ago, but everything possible that could have gone wrong for them went wrong for them. And
Mhm.
that's this TCU team is good, and Sonny's done a great job, but they've also been walking a tightrope for the last couple of weeks, and I
Living on
think
the edge.
the Wildcats knocked them off it. But in order for that to happen, I mean, Texas is staying home next week, and I just think that's just what's going to happen. And then we can discuss which hurt more, the Texas State loss, the Oklahoma State loss, maybe that TCU loss. Texas has had its chances, but I think Kansas State gets it done. On Friday, it's senior day. Texas hasn't necessarily announced who's going to be participating in the senior day festivities, but they did say there's going to be about 30 names on that list. We're not going to consider Bijan for this exercise because he's a junior, and even though we don't think he's going to be back, let's shine some light on those seniors. Um, which senior do you think has had the best season this year? Kirk, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm a big Demo Overshown fan. I mean, ever since he moved from safety to linebacker, he's just gotten better and better, but he's been overshadowed by Jalen Ford, the junior linebacker, who I think we probably agreed probably should be the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So,
That's not the
uh,
question. Which
yeah, I'm
senior?
trying to, you know what? I'll take an outlier and I'll go with Ryan Watts, the cornerback. He's a senior, isn't he? Isn't he going to walk? He's listed as a senior on the depth chart. You never know anymore. Jordan Whittington could come back and stuff. So, well, Demo, I'll pick Demo then to make sure because you never know who's coming back and who's leaving. But he's got, I think, 82 tackles. He's not too far behind Jalen Ford's 92. So, I think he's been very productive here. So I'll go with Demo.
You know what? Keandre Coburn, aka Snacks, has had one hell of a senior year. He's on the radar now. He's going to be in a camp somewhere. He's one of the most improved big men in the country. He's consistently graded out in the top 10 of his position each week and made arguably the defensive play of the year in Manhattan with the strip. I think that Snacks has had a great year. The front four, remember, we were like, these guys need to step up in the spring because they had all the experience and they hadn't put up the numbers. But I think he has been the linchpin of that front four. He's done a great job in the locker room as a leader, and he's shown up on the field. I'm going to go with Snacks.
Who you got, Danny?
Yeah, Ryan Watts is definitely a junior. He's a third year player. No need to give Texas fans a heart attack. Yeah, I mean, he could leave, but if he wants to come back, he'll be more than welcome back by PK and the rest of that defensive coaching staff. You could pick a lot of guys in that defense, whether it's Snacks, whether it's Morris, had a pretty good year. Ovi has been pretty solid the entire season. Anthony Cook, Deshaun Jameson, Demo. I'm going to go on offense. I think Christian Jones has been a really solid member of this offensive line. I think from him coming off the season he had last year at left tackle, there are a lot of questions whether he should be a starter, whether he should be, whether he was a depth piece, whether he should even come back for this season. But he moved to right tackle. He's been pretty solid throughout the entire season. He hasn't been a problem. No one's been like, oh my gosh, what's going on the right tackle? I think this offensive line, for the most part, has been pretty solid. I mean, they've been tested at some points throughout the season, but I think Christian Jones, especially with as young as that offensive line is this season, they needed a senior to play well, and they needed a senior to provide leadership. And I think Christian Jones has done both. He's been kind of the offensive line spokesman throughout the season, as most seniors usually do with us. He's been a delight to talk to throughout the season, and really poised in those media settings. And I know in media settings doesn't really matter if you're not getting it done on the field, but I think he's got it done on the field too. So I'm gonna go Christian Jones. I think he's had a very solid season. That's not something I expected coming to this season, and I think a lot of Texas fans probably echo my thoughts. So Christian's done a really good job, and I think Texas will miss him next year. But I think he's done a good job of kind of paving the way for some of those younger offensive linemen. But you also shout out to Roschon, of course. I mean, Roschon and Jordan Whittington, those guys, older guys in this offense, we don't expect to see back, even though they do have another year of eligibility. they've stepped up and been really solid contributors to this offense this season. But yeah, let's kind of move on. As we said, Friday football game, 11 o'clock at DKR. Other stuff going on around campus. Volleyball team plays on Wednesday at West Virginia. Number one in the country in the ABCA poll. We'll see if they are the number one overall seed on Sunday when the NCAA reveals its brackets for the tournament, which will start next week. Men's basketball, they'll be in action on Saturday as well. So after the football game, you guys can leave the stadium, but you're not going to the Moody Center. You're going to Gregory Gym. They're playing UT RGV and kind of that special thing that Chris Beard likes to do, which is a cool event. At least I imagine. I wasn't there last year, but I can imagine that would be kind of cool to see a basketball game over in Gregory Gym. Women's basketball team is in action on Sunday. They will host Princeton. Rough week for the Longhorns, but they did win on Monday after dropping to number 19 in the poll. Rory Harmon should be back on Sunday. And then Annette Smith-Knight is getting her jersey retired, her number 15 jersey retired before the game on Sunday. So all the old-time Longhorn fans remember that championship team can go honor Annette and celebrate the Longhorns getting back to the Moody Center. But the big thing, Thanksgiving, that's on Thursday. We like to eat. We're sports writers. We've never turned down a free meal, but on Thanksgiving, what are we eating, boys? What is the meal of choice? What's the one thing that your Thanksgiving table must have?
Good.
I'm going to Coleman, Texas, to be with my stepmother-in-law and a much extended family, and they have great pies when we go to Coleman. But I'm a turkey and dressing guy, extra gravy. I could eat that all year long. To me, it's right up there with Tex-Mex and barbecue, but turkey and dressing does it for me. I'm not a pecan pie guy.
No, me neither. Oh, never liked it. And I don't like candy yams either, or sweet potatoes.
Or candy corn.
I'll eat that. I like candy corn. I'm with Daniel. I'm gonna go turkey and dressing is my staple, and I'll be spending Thanksgiving. This is the first Thanksgiving in I want to say 17 years that I'm not covering the Cowboys. We don't really care about them anymore. I know we don't. And so I'm going to be spending it with my cousins, the Choices, and I'm taking over a Greenberg turkey, the most famous smoked turkey in the world from Tyler, Texas. I'm taking that over. If I could get some fried corn from my mom, it'd be great. But I'm thinking about it. She's not a podcaster, but I'm probably going to go to Tyler after the Baylor game. Baylor,
Are you
Texas.
taking the turkey?
What turkey? I'm taking the turkey to my cousins. Yes.
But you're not cooking it.
It's already cooked.
Nice.
Gotta warm it up.
Danny, you cooking?
I mean, I'm not cooking. I'll be just the lazy guy in the corner who'll be more than happy to eat everyone else's hard work. But obviously, turkey. Give me some cranberries. I'll be storing some on the side to get myself a nice sandwich on Friday and Saturday. I love that leftover turkey sandwich. And then, yeah, I'm all about the pumpkin pie, which is a unpopular opinion in my family. But that just means they're going to get a pumpkin pie, and no one aside from me is going to eat it. So that just means a whole pie for myself to work on over the next few days, and I am more than happy about that. So
you run all the time, so you could eat two pies, Daniel.
Gotta. I guess what is work harder, not smarter. Work smarter, not harder. That's my motto when it comes to the pie selections. But on Second Thought Podcast, are you doing that this week, or are you boys taking a week off?
We're trying to decide. I was trying to see if we could get RG3 on. The ESPN guy hadn't returned my email yet, so it's up in the air. So we'll see.
Get RG3. We're gonna be on the air. If we don't get RG3, we'll see you in December.
So Thursday. If there's a podcast, there's a podcast. If there isn't, enjoy the time with your family. But we're gonna get out of here. We appreciate you all. We're thankful for y'all. You're watching this on YouTube, downloading the podcast, checking out statesman.com, checking this out on Facebook, however you do digest this weekly video. We do appreciate that. We'll be back next week. Not really sure what our schedule is going to be like after that as we start transitioning into bowl season and the off season, but we will be back next week. And once again, thanks for checking out statesman.com, and happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see y'all later.
Be safe.
I don't know what that was, but all right.